Okay, now we're going to work on the salt here. So I'm just going to use my mixtures that I already have. You can paint this in solid. You could do a wet on wet blend of the colors you have happening. Now what salt does, salt will block the moisture from adhering to the paper. So it will create a crystallized effect. So imagine like an icy window on a cold morning. So if you took a little bit of salt, you sprinkle it on there. And you don't want to put too much, and you have to get it on when it's still damp. Okay, don't go crazy with the salt. Okay, and then that effect will show up when it's dry. What it will look like is something similar to this. So when it dries, you can brush that salt off, and you can see that it crystallizes. So it blocks those pigments from adhering into your paper. This works better with much darker values. Okay, when it's light, it's a little more subtle. Okay, so that's a technique you can do for creating like a crystallized texture. And then the last one here is rubbing alcohol. Okay, so I'm going to take a color, I'm going to darken this back up a little bit here. Now, rubbing alcohol you can do with, if you have a bottle of rubbing alcohol, or you can actually also use hand sanitizer for this, because hand sanitizer has a heavy concentration of alcohol in it. Okay, and it does the same thing to your, it does the same effect. So it creates almost like a little bubbled effect. Okay, I'm gonna take my brush and kind of flick a little drops down, and you can see that it's starting to create lighter spots. And when that dries, it'll be a little more pronounced. Okay, or you could also take, I'd say wet your brush. I put a little pump of Purell right here. If I wet my brush to get that same effect, I can create little dabs on there, and that will create kind of an organic lightening. Okay, and when that dries, it will look similar to that one. Okay, so that's a way that you can kind of create these kind of more organic visions. That's nice for like an underwater appearance, like a wet on wet with a little rubbing alcohol is a nice technique.